on this important topic. Robert, let's begin. Thank you.
Thank you, TJ, and welcome everyone. Financial Aid 101. I am your presenter today, Robert M. Ramirez, Pima Community College, Tucson, Arizona, Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships. I have a lot of information to cover for you today. I'm very excited to be here and to share this. Please encourage you to use the question function. I have teammates, 2 team members with me here to help answer those questions, and we'll get started. So first off, where do we apply for financial aid? If you take anything away from this presentation, I hope that it's at least FAFSA.gov. FAFSA is free application for federal student aid. That's free. You never pay for the FAFSA application. Very important. Remember that. You never pay for it. Now, to use the FAFSA, you need to sign in. You need a username and a password. This is called the FSA ID. You can get your FSA ID at this website here. Again, please take away FAFSA.gov, FSA ID here at this website. Those are 2 very important topics. So what is financial aid? That's obviously a question for a lot of people. So federal financial aid actually comes from the federal government, specifically the U.S. Department of Education. It's money to help pay for college. It's money to pay for school beyond high school. The money actually helps cover for things like tuition, books and fees, room and board, transportation, all the stuff that college might cost. So obviously not everybody has the money saved to pay for college, and that is what federal student aid is for. So what types of financial aid is included in the federal student aid? There are 3 main categories of financial aid plus scholarships. The first category is grants. Now, grants are gift aid. This means you do not have to pay this back. Now, Pell Grant is the main source of grants and part of the federal financial aid package. A second source is work study. This is money that is earned and does not have to be repaid. A third source would be loans. Loans is borrowed money that must be repaid plus interest. So these are types of financial aid that are included in the FAFSA. When you fill out the FAFSA, you're trying to get grants, work study, or loans. So remember, scholarships is gift aid, grants is gift aid, loans is borrowed aid, and work study is earned aid. You have these 4 pillars of financial aid to help fund your education through college. So you kind of start to see what the dollar amounts are here. So the federal Pell Grant for 2020-21 is up to $6,345. There are some additional grants here that go up to $4,000 here in the Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant. And then you have work study. Work study is going to vary by school, depending on what kind of job you have and how many hours that you do. And then you also have access to loans. So when you fill out the FAFSA, you're filling it out to access these 3 types of financial aid: grants, federal work study, and loans. So why should you fill out the FAFSA? Why should I fill out the FAFSA? Free money for college, grants. You can get up to $6,345 in a federal Pell Grant to pay for your education. Now, that's the maximum amount for this year, upcoming year, 2020-2021 is $6,345, and that rate is at full time, and that's for the full year. So that would break down per semester to $3,173 and $3,172 per semester if you're going full time. Full time is 12 credits or more. So you're filling out the FAFSA, you hope to get this Pell Grant here, and you hope to be able to get this much money per semester to pay for your education that you do not have to pay back. So how does the FAFSA decide if you qualify? The FAFSA as an application is designed to measure the financial strength of your household. It's going to ask you how much income, how many people are in your household, how many of those members are going to college, and it's going to calculate that, and it's going to assign you a EFC number. EFC is estimated family contribution. So if it gives you a 0 EFC, that means you get that $6,345 Pell Grant. That means you are full Pell eligible and that you have 0 estimated family contribution. Now your ESC can go all the way up to the 5,700 mark and you'll still qualify for a lesser amount of Pell Grant. So what is a grant? What is a Pell Grant? Remember this, grant is gift aid that does not have to be repaid. The Pell Grant is the main source, the main reason why you fill out the FAFSA. And you want to fill it out every year because one year you might not be eligible. The next year you could be eligible based on your income changes and household size changes. The only time you have to pay back a Pell Grant is if you get the money to go to school and then you actually just don't go to school. You don't actually finish. You don't even make it. If you don't make it to the 60% point in attendance, then there's going to be a recalculation of that Pell Grant that you're going to have to pay back. So the great thing is if you're eligible for the Pell Grant and you fill out the FAFSA, you will be paid for it. Like everybody is eligible. If you're eligible, the FAFSA will offer you the Pell Grant. So who gets federal student aid? These are the factors that will decide whether you're kind of eligible for financial aid. You need to demonstrate financial need. You need to be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen, have a valid Social Security number, be registered with the Selective Service if you are a male student, be enrolled and accepted for enrollment in an eligible degree and certificate program. So you have to have your student record at the college all set up, have your degree on file. That degree has to be eligible for financial aid. You need to be enrolled in at least 6 credits for some loans. And you also need to maintain academic progress. You can't just get financial aid, go to class, go to college, but not be successful, not pass your classes, and then continue to expect to receive financial aid semester after semester when you're not passing your classes. So there's some standards for making sure that you stay on track. So let me tell you a little bit more about financial aid. Is it only the Pell Grants? No, there's also federal work study. So federal work study is actually a job that you're going to get on campus. You need to fill out the FAFSA to do it. And it's usually a part-time job, but these are great experience for students to get a job on there. You're going to get a paycheck. You got to earn it. It's not usually a high-paying job, but one thing you do need to know is it's not automatically going to be handed out to you. You got to go apply for it. You got to go look for the jobs on the school's website. You got to apply for those jobs. You got to decide if you want to work that job, like if you want to work in the admissions office or you want to work in a different kind of office doing office stuff, or you want to be in the labs working on stuff. So it's up to you to initiate to get that work study and start earning those funds. Another source of aid is the federal direct loans. So you're going to hear direct subsidized loan, sub-loan, direct unsubsidized loan. These are the two main loan categories that the FAFSA offers. So a subsidized loan, this is based on your financial need, but the great thing about this is the government does not usually charge the interest on this loan while you are in school at least 6 credits. So the subsidized loan, the interest is being subsidized by the government. On a direct unsubsidized loan, your interest on that starts accruing from day 1. The government is not subsidizing that loan for you. So if you take out an unsubsidized loan, interest on it is accruing from day 1 and you are responsible for that. So there are some limits on how much loans that you can get depending on if you're a dependent and independent student, a freshman, a sophomore, and then how much you can get over the lifetime of your education here for your bachelor's degree. So here's a chart that kind of breaks down these year limits and then the lifetime limits on there to understand that if you are going to be having to take out loans, that this is what you'll be working with. Now to get loans, there are some additional steps that you have to do when you go to your school here. And this is important to remember because loans you do have to pay back. So you have to acknowledge that you know you're taking out a loan. And so you have to go through some steps here to create an account. Well, you already have your account, but you're going to do entrance counseling. You're going to sign a contract that you know you're going to pay back these loans on there. Entrance counseling, part of you have to do the loan is you got to make sure you understand that borrowing money, you have to pay back what a budget is. So it's going to make you exercise that information and that you understand what it is to borrow money, what it is to budget and repay. Here are some interest rates on the loans for this year. A lot of people ask these questions. So now we're going to get into actually the FAFSA. So what do I need to actually fill out the FAFSA? I'm ready to do it. I want to get those loans. I want to get that Pell Grant. I want to get some funding to pay for my education. What do I need to get started? So these are the 6 items that you'll need to fill out the FAFSA form. You're going to need a username, a password, and that is called your FSA ID, and I'm going to go into that. You're going to need your social security number. You will need your 2019 tax record information, records of any of your untaxed information, records of assets, the list of schools you're interested in. This one's going to be important later on because you need to know what colleges you want to try to go to, whether that's a community college or university. And you're going to need to put them on your FAFSA because you want them to package your financial aid for you. So to get financial aid, you do need to apply each year. You need to meet the basic eligibility requirements, and you also need to be passing your classes. October 1st, the FAFSA opens every year now. This has been standardized. Every year, the FAFSA will open on October 1st. Got the fall here, I got the pumpkin. So you know right around Halloween time, in the fall time, you should be filling out the FAFSA every year. So understanding kind of some of the cycle and the dates of this, the FAFSA comes out October 1st, but the FAFSA needs to, when you put the college on it, it needs to actually match with the record at that college, which means you need to have an admissions record on file at that college for those 2 records to match. So kind of understanding how the school year works is, if you're in high school right now, you're probably looking at attending college in the 2021-2022 age year. And start to understand that August through December is the fall semester, January through May is the spring, and May through July is the summer semester. And that's not a slide there. Step 1, create your FSA ID. So this is your username and your password to log into your FAFSA. It's also used as your electronic signature to sign your FAFSA. And it's also used to log into other financial aid websites. So this is important that you as the student filling out the FAFSA, you will need a FSA ID. Your parent that will be signing your FAFSA will also need an FSA ID. You guys will have to have separate FSA IDs. You'll have to have separate email accounts. You won't be able to use the same email account in order to do that. Now, if your parent does not have a social security number, they will not be able to create an FSA ID, and that is okay. They can actually sign the FAFSA physically. At the end of the FAFSA, you'll be able to print the signature page for your parent to sign that, and you'll have to mail that to the U.S. Department of Education. But if your parent has an SSN, they need to create an FSA ID. So there's a couple ways to get to the FSA ID. You can go straight to FSAID.ed.gov. You can go to FAFSA.gov and kind of click around and get to it. It should look like this here. You're going to create an FSA ID. If you've never done one there, this does take some time to set up, so make sure you're ready to do that. The FSA ID is going to ask for information that only you're going to know: your social security, your date of birth, your name, and that kind of stuff information. You're going to enter it out. Everybody's set up accounts before you've registered. You're going to need to create a username. You're going to need to create a password. It's going to have to meet the criteria. And you're going to go ahead and enter in a bunch of information, that your address and stuff like that. This part becomes a little challenging, creating your challenge questions. 2 questions you have to make up on your own. Be ready for that. You're going to get an opportunity to review it, make sure everything's correct before you submit it. This part here is a pain point. You will have to do the whole text secure code, email secure code. You have to do both of them. It's going to make sure confirming, this is how they confirm your identity. They're going to confirm that you are who you are. And you got to do it for both of them. If you put your phone and you put your email down. Your FSA ID is used for a lot of things, not just signing your FAFSA. As you kind of go through your college career, if you do need to pay back loans, you'll be using that throughout the rest of your life to sign in and out. Now the FSA ID match, so you need to make sure you type in your social security number right. You need to make sure you type in your name, your government name as it is on your social security card, because it's going to match up with some government databases to make sure that it is valid. So make sure that everything is correct when you do that. You don't want any kind of mistakes on there. And then once you're ready to go, now you can log in to do it. It does take about 1 to 3 days for all those matches to take place, but you can use it right away. So as soon as you create it, you can use it right away, even though in the background, it's going to be matching up to those databases for the next few days. One tip I will say is when you're creating the FSA ID, make sure you only have one tab open on your website. For some reason, it'll kind of click out. It thinks that maybe something else is going on and it wipes out everything you've been typing. So make sure you only have one tab open. Okay, so you have your FSA ID. That's a huge step. Your parent has their FSA ID. Both of you need your FSA ID. It's been confirmed. You did the text code, you did the email code. Now you're ready to actually complete the FAFSA. You're going to go to FAFSA.gov. You're going to click Start Here. You're going to click I am the student. You're going to type in your FSA ID. Make sure your caps lock isn't on. The next screen you'll see is probably Accept. Now, as a high school student, come October 1st, you're going to see 2 FAFSAs open that are available for you to fill out. Make sure you fill out the 2021-2022 FAFSA. The next screen you'll probably see, this is a pain point, is the save key. So the save key needs to be 4 to 8 characters. This is like a temporary password in case you need to walk away, you don't finish your session in the one-time sitting, or maybe you're filling it out on your own and you need your parent to fill it out in a different location. So you can actually share this password save key with them, so then they could log in and complete their part of the FAFSA, sign and submit it there. So the save key, a lot of people don't understand what that is. This is not your FSA ID. It's just the temporary password for that session, for that transaction. So it is meant to be shared with your parent in order for them to log in and complete the FAFSA if they're not there with you. The next screen you'll see is this. You're actually able to click on all of these and they will open up and give you some hints and some tips on what you should be doing. This is what it'll look like. If you click on it, they open up. It'll kind of explain to you what to expect. You click Next. Now the FAFSA has about 8 sections to it. You log in and then it's going to go over you, who you are. It's going to ask for some school information, dependency status, and parents if you need to provide your parent information, your financial information, sign, submit, and then confirmation. So as soon as you log in, it's going to pull all that data from your FSA ID that you just typed in. So it's going to pre-fill a lot of information for you. It's going to already have your addresses because you're already going to know your email because you typed that in on your FSA ID. The next question is going to ask you probably is your marital status. Are you single? Are you married? The next question is it's going to ask, are you a U.S. citizen? You might be an eligible non-citizen where you'll type in your A number here. This is another pain point here. The next one is student education. So the first question is, will you have your high school diploma? If you're graduated, yes, you'll have it. When you're filling out the FAFSA during high school, October 1st, it's kind of asking you in the future, are you going to have your high school diploma by the time? And you say yes, or you might have your GED, or you might be homeschooled. The next question, this is another pain point. This gets really confusing. Students don't know how to answer this question. It's asking, what kind of degree are you going to be going after high school while you're in college? You probably won't be going for your second bachelor's degree if you just graduated high school. If you're going to university, you'll probably be putting a bachelor's degree. You see associate's degree, that's a community college. The occupational technical one, those are like trades, kind of like trades where you're meant to get a job right away, or not even like nursing where you're meant to go right into the workforce. Or an associate's degree of general education is where you're going to a community college, but you plan to transfer to a university after 2 years. Or you might be going for a certificate, some sort of aviation, automotive certificate. So you're going to select here which one you're going after. The next question is sometimes a little confusing. If you're straight out of high school, you probably never attended college first year. You're going to select that. There might be, maybe you took some college courses in high school, so you might say attended college, but you're still in your first year. So you're going to select that option there. Remember we talked about work study and you need to fill out the FAFSA. This is the question right here on if you want federal work study. So you would need to click yes in order to be able to get work study at the college you go to. You still got to apply for those jobs. So the next question is your gender here. If you are a male, you do have to register for selective service. So it's going to give you an opportunity to do that. If you check male on here, it's going to give you an opportunity to register for selective service. You must register if you want financial aid, and you must be registered between the ages of 18 and 26. Next question will be the driver's license. This is not required. You can leave it blank and move forward if you don't have one. If you do have one, please enter it. If you are in the foster youth or you were at any time, this is an opportunity for you to answer that question. And here is the highest school completed by your parents. So it's just trying to see, have your parents completed college or did they do high school? And you'll be able to answer that. Do not forget that you can actually save your FAFSA. At any time, you can save your FAFSA if you need to come back and finish it later. Here's another huge pain point. When you go on there, you're going to need to enter in your high school that you're graduating from. And you need to search for it. You'll need to select it. The next one is your college. Which college do you want to go to? And you'll be able to type in your college code that you want to go to, or you'll have to search for your college. And then after you find the colleges that you want to, this is another one, you're gonna check mark them, but it's gonna ask you, do you want to live on campus, off campus, or with the parent? And a lot of people don't know how to answer this question, but do you plan on living on the campus or are you gonna live off campus? But you're gonna have to select one. Most community colleges don't have campus dorms. Usually only the universities have a campus dorm. The next questions come down to, are you a dependent or an independent student? So this has to do with whether you're going to have to report your parents' information or whether you just report your own information. It's going to ask you a series of questions. You have to answer yes or no to them. And depending on how you answer yes or no to those questions, the FAFSA is going to categorize you as an independent or a dependent student. It's also going to give you an opportunity, if you cannot provide your parents' information, to do what's called a special circumstance. I encourage you to talk to your financial aid office before you do this, because if you decide to not report your parents' information when you should be, and you go through this route, you will not qualify for the Pell Grant. So talk to your financial aid office if you have questions about that. Now, there are some other special circumstances. You could have some change in income. There's a lot of stuff going on with COVID right now. So those are acceptable circumstances for some adjustments. So who is your parent when you do fill out the FAFSA? You have legal parents and you have not your legal parents. You're only going to report your legal parents. So dependent students will be required to fill out their FAFSA. Here's a chart that you can go by. So are your parents, this is a chart to see who is my parent, because sometimes your parents may not be married, or sometimes your parents got remarried, and yeah, you understand you're a dependent student, but you're still not sure which parent to report. So if your parents are married together, of course, you're going to report both of them on the FAFSA. If your parents live together, but they're not married, you would still report them on your FAFSA. And if your parents are separated, you're going to report the parent that you live with and provides the most support over the last 12 months. So this chart can be found online for you to take a look at if you have questions about who is a parent and which parent do I use when I'm filling out the FAFSA. This can be a major pain point for some students. Never hesitate to contact your financial aid office for questions. So again, this is just another recap of kind of which parent would I be reporting in those under certain circumstances. So then the FAFSA is going to ask you, when was your parent married, remarried? What was the date that they got married? This can be kind of a pain point for students to be ready for. And it's important that if your parent does not have a social security number on there, that is okay. For your parent, you would put all zeros in the parent information as you're going through. The next question is defining your household. This is another major pain point for students. The way these questions are designed, it doesn't flow very good, and it's just not there. So make sure that you're reading these questions carefully. If you have questions on it, ask your financial aid office. So the next question is going to be about filing their taxes. Have they filed your taxes? This is important. The income questions on it for your parents. This has an opportunity for you to use a tool within the FAFSA called the IRS data retrieval tool to bring in your parents' tax information. This will save you a ton of time as a student following up with your financial aid office on there. So it's going to ask you which parent can go ahead and transfer in their taxes. This parent will have to have an FSA ID because that's going to be required for them to sign in to the IRS data retrieval and to pull that information. Not all families will be able to use the IRS data retrieval. And when you do get into there, when you do require it, you need to make sure you type in everything exactly as it is on your FAFSA, on your tax returns. Otherwise, it will not pull it and will not transfer. And it may not transfer. You may have to enter in your information on your own as you do. And it may not enter in all the information that the income is asking you. And it is okay to put zeros if you don't have that income. That's very common on these additional questions for the income, that you may not have it, untaxed income. You may be required to reference your tax returns, to pull information on there if you're going to be entering in that manually. And this can be some work, but as you're going through the FAFSA, it's going to tell you exactly which question you need to use that. The next part of the FAFSA is the student income. So you just report your parents' income. It's also going to ask you for the student income. And you might not have any, and that is okay. You can put that you did not file, you're not required to file, and you have zero income. Or you might have wages, but you did not file. And now you're at the final stages of your FAFSA. You're ready to submit it. You're going to sign in with your FSA ID. And if you look right here, you're going to see this box, other options to sign and submit. So if your parent does not have a social security number and they cannot get an FSA ID, you're going to sign in with your FSA ID. Then you're going to click that and you're going to print the signature page for your parent to mail and sign. Or if your parent has an FSA ID, they're going to actually sign the FAFSA now with their FSA ID. So you filled out the FAFSA, you're going to get results right away. You're going to see this little section right here where it says estimated family contribution. We talked about EFC earlier on there. If you click on this arrow, it's actually going to kind of accordion, is going to drop down, and it's going to tell you exactly how much Pell Grant, how much free money you qualify for in financial aid there. So make sure you click on that on there to see what your EFC is and to see what Pell Grant you may qualify. If you have the zero EFC, you're looking at that full amount. You might have a different EFC number. Depending on your EFC number, is how much Pell Grant you will be getting on there. Here's some charts on that. It's going to tell you on there. Now, if you do qualify for the full Pell Grant, that rate is at full time. You might not go full time on there. So you might not get that full amount, but you will still get some. So if you go half time, you're going to get 1,587 of that Pell Grant there. You need to be in 6 credits though to get loans. After you submitted the FAFSA, you know how much financial aid you're going to get. You put the schools on there that you want to go to. The schools are going to get that information and they're going to send you an award letter. They may send it through email. They may send it through the mail. You might get a post office mail there. It's going to tell you, hey, you get this much financial aid. You can get this much loans on there. It takes about 3 to 5 days for them to get that. And you probably need to follow up with the school because you may need to submit some documents. You may need to, if you didn't do the IRS data retrieval, you may need to submit your taxes. You may need to fill out some paperwork that may require your parent's signature as well. So you cannot wait till the last minute to do that kind of stuff. You need to stay on top of it and be in communication with the financial aid office on any kind of requirements. So now you know how much financial aid you can get. You filled out the application. Now you're kind of wondering like how much does school cost? So that's called the cost of attendance. So I have a small chart here. It kind of just gives some examples of cost of attendance and what is built into a cost of attendance here. And it has totals down here. These totals kind of become the maximum amount of financial aid that you can receive while you go to those schools in any combination of grants, loans, or scholarships. So you have your cost of attendance now, you picked your school, you know what your EFC is. Now you're kind of wondering how much financial aid am I going to get? So here's an example of a cost of attendance, a school that costs $16,000. You have a 0 EFC, so you get the 6,300 Pell Grant. Now you have over $9,000 in unmet need. Maybe you have to take out a loan. Hopefully you get a scholarship on there. You still have some unmet need. You don't have to fill up all your unmet need with loans. You do not have to do that. Don't feel like you have to do that. But that was for a full year. That's kind of like, here's what it looks like if you were to break that down per semester if you're going full time. You had a 16,000 total, so that's about 8,000 per semester cost of attendance. You're getting the full Pell Grant on there. You're taking out the loans. Your scholarship is split up between there. So that's kind of a cost of attendance. That's your financial aid package. You're going to get an award letter on there. But then you have tuition and fees. So like, how does all that work? How does that flow through the student account? So you've picked your college, your financial aid is there, you followed up, you got all your requirements in, you met with your advisors, you registered for classes, and now you got charges. You register for tuition and fees. So your scholarship probably would cover that, and that would leave kind of some excess funds there in that amount. This would be refunded to you as a student because you need to pay those additional expenses like books and supplies, transportation, room and board. This example is a community college example. If you look at a university example where maybe the tuitions and fees is a lot higher on there, you may not have as much. Your financial aid may not go as far, may not go as long. You may have to take out additional loans. If you don't get a scholarship, you may have to take out another loan to pay for that. So after you've submitted your FAFSA, you received a notification from FAFSA that's been completed. It's been sent to your schools. You need to follow up with those schools now. You need to make sure that you have your admissions application on file with them. You've activated your account with them. You're following up on any financial aid documents that you may need to do. Now we're going to go into some scholarships. So tips for finding scholarships. One of the main things is you got to kind of understand like the different kinds of scholarships. Scholarships typically fall into these main categories. Merit awards. So merit is based on your GPA. So if you have a high GPA, you're going to be qualifying for merit-based scholarships. There are some financial need scholarships, which will then be using your FAFSA data to say they have financial need. Of course, there are athletic scholarships and back up, sorry. And then there are donor-specific scholarships. So these ones here, each of them could have their own criteria. There could be very specific to that, and it may be something that that aligns with who you are as a student. And then there are scholarships that are very specific to your major, to the career field that you're going to. Super important to understand when our scholarships, majority of scholarships given out. And that's between February and April. More than half of the scholarship dollar amounts for each year, the upcoming year, are given out in February and April. That's important because you'll probably still be in high school during that time, and you're going to need to be applying for your future college scholarships. So that's a lot going on, and you don't really realize that. You can't show up at the last minute and expect to apply for scholarships in college. To apply for scholarships, you need to be organized. You want to kind of organize the scholarships by deadline, apply for them every week. Make sure that you're following the instructions. It's so important to follow the instructions on the scholarship. One thing on here, it has to be nominated. So if you're in high school right now and you can become the president of student government and you can get that leadership experience, that's going to go a long way on scholarship applications. So where do schools apply for them? You want to go to your college website. The college will have a financial aid website. The college will likely have a scholarship web page. Is going to have a scholarship database where they have their scholarships. They have the scholarships that outside people work with. So it's usually all right there in one spot on the college website that you'll need to log in. You'll need to go there. Beyond that, you're going to want to start local with your local organizations, your local community foundations. You're going to need to maybe have some letters of recommendations, your transcripts available for those types of scholarship searches. If you're going to be on scholarship on the internet, make sure that you never give out your social security number. You never pay for it, that you're actually using reputable websites that you know are legit. They don't have a bunch of advertisements on it. So you want to have a routine. You want to be applying for scholarships all the time. If you know your merit base, you're looking for those. Start local. You could be at your parents' work, some Rotary clubs, your churches. But when you get to the college website, this is the institutional scholarships. This is probably going to be one of your best bets to get scholarships. These are specific to the college. But they do have very specific deadlines, and they probably will be happening during that time frame that I mentioned earlier, that February to April time frame. So searching for scholarships kind of looks and feels a lot like this. You have path one, where you're going to the college, you're looking for those institutional scholarships. You have path two, where you're going to looking at private companies, local companies that you know are reputable, that you can get scholarships for. You have the third path, maybe you're going to nonprofit organizations to look for scholarships. The fourth path, some more local businesses, community organizations, or churches. The fifth path, social organizations, clubs that share your interests and activities. So those are the two main types of scholarships. You have private, the ones that are kind of outside of the school ones, and then you have institutional scholarships that are at the school specific. It's the college's funds. So you need to know, like, is that scholarship going to be refundable or non-refundable? Typically, institutional scholarships are non-refundable, so it's only going to be able to pay for your tuition and fees. Majority of external scholarships are refundable, and you can use those for those additional educational expenses. Some mistakes on when you're searching for scholarships is you miss the deadlines is definitely a big one. You don't apply for enough scholarships. You wait too long to start searching, and it just gets overwhelmed by it. There are scholarships for foster youth as well. If you are a foster youth student, please don't hesitate to take advantage of those opportunities. There's also AmeriCorps grants that it's kind of like a work study job, but it's not part of the college. You go and you will serve and work with the AmeriCorps, and they will award you with a grant that you can use for college as well. This is important. COVID has changed the lives of a lot of people here. If there's been a change in your situation, you need to fill out the FAFSA exactly the way it's asking you to fill it out, but then you need to follow up with the school about these types of things that may happen and to discuss what kind of options that you have. So should you fill out the FAFSA? Yes, and yes in yellow. Some factors that do not impact your financial aid. I want to focus on your high school GPA here. So your high school GPA will not matter on your financial aid eligibility. Please remember that. You can even do the FAFSA on your phone. You don't have to go to the internet. They have their own app now, so you can take advantage of the app. Don't forget the types of financial aid that there are: the grants, the loans, the work study, the scholarships. So we kind of reviewed, you got to be eligible for it. You got to know your school, how much your school is going to cost. You need to know how much you plan to attend, because that's going to depend on how much you get of your eligible financial aid. Here are some resources that you can go to online to get some more stuff from the government. They got some great PDFs. They got some great graphics online. They have videos online. They have a 1-800 number that you can call. So are there any questions, Carla and Margie out there? TJ.
Doesn't look like we have any open questions. Looks like they've been answering them pretty well throughout the session.
Okay. So then do we still have those 15 extra minutes, I guess?
If you want them.
If I want them. Okay.
Hi, Robert. This is Carla. Do you
Carla.
mind talking a little bit about the FAFSA forecaster for students that are not seniors yet? Maybe if they have an interest to start the application, testing the FAFSA application and scholarships?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Thank
a
you.
great one. So you may be a junior in high school. You may not be looking at college, isn't next year for you, but you're thinking about it. College may be 2 years out for you. So you can kind of go on there and see what your potential eligibility is through the FAFSA forecaster. So you would go on there and kind of fill out the application, not even application, you would fill out some information, and it would tell you this is what you would be eligible for if you were going to college next year. And that gives you an opportunity as a junior to kind of see how much aid that you might be able to accomplish on that. And then in addition, as a junior, you can now go to those colleges' websites. You can go to their scholarship website, and you can look at their scholarships and see what it is that they're requiring. And you have time now to prepare for that, to get those things there. If the scholarship's asking for community service, if the scholarship's asking for leadership service, now as a junior in high school, you have time to get those done in time to apply for it the same time next year when you're a senior in college. And you'll be able to be on track to apply for that. You'll have an idea what your financial aid package will be by doing the FAFSA forecaster. And then when your senior year comes around, your senior October 1st date comes around, the FAFSA opens, you'll fill it out for real that time, and you'll actually get your EFC, and you'll be filling out for real those scholarship applications that you went ahead and researched a whole year ahead on that college's website. And you have those deadlines already set up. You have all your application materials in a row ready to go and to apply for those scholarships. And that could be a huge advantage if you're a junior in high school right now. And if you're a senior, you just not too late too. You start right now. You'll be able to apply for scholarships. Look at that website. See what are the scholarships that colleges offer who gets those scholarships? What are they asking for? And how do I get those now that I'm during my senior year in high school or my junior year and senior year? Is that what you were talking about, Carla?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, so it's super important that when you guys do fill out the financial aid application, that you have everything that you need to do it when you sit down with it. So that means you're going to need to talk with your parents. You're going to need to be on the same page with your parents. And you're going to need to have all of your stuff together so that when you sit down, it's not stressful for you and your parents to fill it out. You have your username, they have their username. They'll probably have your social security for you. They're not likely just to hand over their tax records to you on there. You're going to need your list of schools on there. So it's important for you to be working with your advisors, with your counselors at your high school, so that they can explain to you what's the difference between a community college and a university. What's the difference between a 2-year degree and a 4-year degree, a certificate and an associate's degree? How many credits do you actually need to get a bachelor's degree? And understanding, like, what degrees am I interested in out there, and does that school offer that degree? And then you start to kind of build your list of schools, get an understanding of maybe what you want to pursue on there, so that when you do sit down with the FAFSA, you're able to list those schools. They're gonna get a copy of your FAFSA. On top of that, you're gonna need to then apply for admissions at those colleges. So you could put up to 10 schools on your FAFSA, but you probably don't want to pay for 10 admissions applications on there. Some applications are free. Community colleges are free. Some universities, you can get the application fee waived on there. But it's going to be important for you to do a lot of research on the college, the cost of the college, the degrees that they have there, the scholarships that college is going to be offering you, because you could take your federal aid package with you to all those schools. Those numbers that I went over here are not going to change on there. They'll stay the same for you as you go to those schools, but the cost of that school could change. The scholarships that they offer, that could change on there. So you need to make sure that you stay on top of that. It's a great opportunity to get ahead of it and get everything lined up and ready to go, so that it's not stressing you out while you're still in school, because you're still going to be trying to complete high school. You're still going to be trying to graduate. And the same thing the next year, because you'll have to do it every year. The next year you'll be doing your first year of college, and you'll need to be getting ready for your second year, applying for other scholarships. You may need to be getting ready to transfer to a new school to take those next level courses on there, and you'll need to do this stuff there. So are there any other questions too coming in, Carla?
No, just I think we've answered most of the questions, and you did an awesome job providing the information, so we didn't have a whole lot of questions.
Not a whole lot of questions. Okay. Well, I hope that we provided good information to you guys here in Arizona, high school students, counselors. Remember, you got to do it each year. October 1st, the FAFSA opens. So make sure that you guys get in there. You get a chance to get that Pell Grant, that free money. This video is going to be up for everybody to watch and kind of pause as you need to there. But it's important to fill out your FAFSA, guys.